Ew. It's so,
Thank you.
I'm, as you
We
know,
we had a few drafts, but it was when it finally got together, like I was just like, oh, that's perfect.
oh, it is perfect. Well, I'm so excited, and let's share you with Amazon and all our watchers. So, hey, Amazon, YouTube, all the social media areas, welcome back. I'm so excited to introduce you to Kianna Alexander today. We're going to talk about Can't Resist Her, her newest book that is one of my favorites, and I cannot wait to talk to you about it. Welcome, Kianna. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Everybody. So I'm a something of a Southern belle at heart. I'm a North Carolina native. Spent most of my life there. Still live in North Carolina now. Um, I have two kids, 12 and 16, and I have been writing since I was a kid and just making up stories. And if I wasn't reading, I was making a story up. And then I had a high school drama teacher to point out my innate talent for writing, especially creative writing, when I did a one act play project for him. Shout out to Mr. Wendell Tabb.
Oh,
Brilliant, brilliant guy, father figure to many. Taught 35 years at Hillside High School in Durham, North Carolina, and touched so many people. Mr. Tabb, I love you. Um, and even to this day, like if he sees a connection that he can make for me, he'll just call me and be like, "Hey, I told this person you're my student." Um, so that was kind of where the seed was planted in terms of me believing in myself as a writer, as it being something I could actually pursue outside of it being a hobby. And I didn't start really like pursuing it until after college. I was like newly married. Um, my husband was in the military, and I was like just sitting at home while he was training. And I had a dear older cousin who was like, "Listen, I've got an office in my house. I've got a computer. I've got all the paper you could possibly want to print, endless ink. Um, I have to have it for work, but I don't use it much. So why don't you come over?" And she gave me the space for 6 months to write the first book. So she gave me kind of the Harper Lee treatment. And that's how I finished my first manuscript. That was 2004 to 2005, working on that manuscript. She has since passed away. Her name was Tanya. And when that first book finally came out, I dedicated it to her. She did live to see that. That book was published in 2009. And since 2009, I've published 43 or 44 books. There
amazing.
have been years when I've done, one or two. And then I think 2014 was the year I did the most. I think I put out nine
Oh.
in that year. So I write pretty fast. I'm prolific. I write across all different genres. And I've just been kind of pursuing it with vigor ever since I got that first call to for somebody to buy that first manuscript. I've just been kind of after that the entire time.
What do your kids think of you writing?
My oldest, my son, he has Down syndrome. So his awareness of what I do is kind of in and out. Like he sees me at the computer and he understands when I'm at the computer. Okay, he has to be quiet. And he may come in my office. I've got like a little window seat behind me. And he'll sit on the window seat. I've got like a little bucket of crayons and stuff over there for him. There's like one of his little plastic trucks down on the floor. So like he kind of knows to entertain himself while I'm doing that. Um, and my daughter, being 12, I think is coming more into awareness of it as a job and not just, mom puttering around on the computer. Um, so I think she likes it because she has more accessibility to me than the other kids her age. Like their moms are working the types of jobs where you have to leave the house and you have to, clock in and you're kind of beholden to someone else. So I think she's starting to see the difference between like having a regular job and doing something where you work for yourself. And I think she sees the appeal, at least of that part of it.
Well, I'm sure they're very proud of you. That is so exciting. I know it's hard. Kids tell their friends what their parents do, and they're like, really? Like an author? Like a real life author? I know my daughter told her English teacher that I wrote a book, and her teacher's like, oh, that's great. I don't think they understand. Nobody understands. It's a weird world we live in, right?
Yeah, publishing is really kind of a mystery, the inner workings of it. Like people know like a writer writes a book and then boom, the book is on the shelf at the library and the bookstore. But all the stuff that happens in between that, like people lack awareness of that. And I don't know if that's like by design, but people really don't know the kinds of things that go on in publishing.
gosh, there's so much that goes on in publishing. So you wrote Can't Resist Her. Tell us a little bit about this book. Where'd the inspiration come behind this one? Because I love the strong, I can kind of feel that come out when you were talking about your high school and your teacher, but you have like a strong legacy dynamic in your novel here. So tell us a little bit about your inspiration for this one.
Well, I think the idea first came to me when I saw a music video, and I think it was one of those things where somebody shared like a clip of it on Twitter, and I was scrolling down Twitter and I saw this clip and I was like, "What is this? What is this? I have to discover what this is." I had never heard of the artist before, but I knew it was like R&B music. It was kind of my vibe, so I was like, "Okay, let me click on it." Took me to YouTube and I watched the video. The song is called "Freak," and the artist is Jada Michael. So she's like this beautiful, curvy, feminine woman. And in the video, she's sort of singing this kind of sexy song and she's dancing around this tall, um, gorgeous, masculine woman who looks much like Aiko. Very tattooed, very tall, this lovely like skin tone. She's like mixed heritage, Asian and African American. And I was just like enthralled by the video itself and the song. And I was like, wow, this is a really good song. Who is this person? So I started looking them up. Um, I looked at the artist and I downloaded like Jada's music to my Amazon Music and was like, cool, like this is, I love discovering new artists because music is a lot of the time my inspiration. But the mask model in the video just caught my eye. So I went and looked her up on Instagram, found her Instagram and was just like, I'm writing a book. That's it. I'm writing a book. So that's where the initial inspiration came from. And then I started doing that thing that I love to do where it's like, what if Prince Charming and Cinderella was a woman and the shoe was an earring? And the that's how I got like the premise of how they met, and everything else kind of fell into place after I had established that. So that was where it started.
I love that too. I'm all about music as well, and I think music can just really inspire so much as a writer, and I love that you said that too because it is so true. So, what are
Yeah.
you currently working on?
So I've recently finished the sequel to Can't Resist Her, which is called Can't Let Her Go. And like
Oh,
for people that have read Can't Resist Her, um, this book is a romance between two other people in the friend squad that's in the first book, Peaches and Jamie. So that's kind of a continuation of the storyline and kind of gives a way for readers of this book to catch up with what's going on with the entire friend group, with including Summer and Aiko.
so one of the things I love about your book is if you guys are on Kindle Unlimited, you can listen to the Audible of this for free with your Kindle Unlimited. And she has a really great Audible version. I believe your narrators are,
Morgan Martin, I think.
yes,
I might be getting her
Morgan.
last name wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's really good. It's really good narration, and that was another thing that we spent a lot of time on, like choosing
Yeah.
who was going to narrate. And I wanted a certain kind of voice. I wanted someone reflective of the characters in terms of their like identity and their background, and I think that she did a really good job with the voiceover.
I love that so much. And I'm so excited that you have a second book coming. Do you know when that'll be published?
June. It
June!
comes out. Yeah, it comes out in June. And I'm like super excited about it. And like the cover is so
Oh my
pretty.
gosh. I
I
cannot
think
wait
it's
to see
up.
the cover.
I think it's up on I think it's up on Amazon.
Is it? Oh,
It's the same, the vibe is very similar to Can't Resist Her, like the same designer did the illustration. And instead of like the nighttime vibe that you have with Can't Resist Her, it's like a sunset, this orangey, beautiful sunset horizon type of um
I don't
glow in the
see it
background.
yet. Oh man, I
It's
cannot wait to see it
so
though.
it's so pretty. I love it so much.
Okay, well, I am so excited for that one. Holy cow. Um, Also, I want to talk about your book Carolina Built because I haven't read that yet. It's on my TBR. I fell kind of down a rabbit hole with it, and I saw it, and I was like, oh my gosh, the premise of this is, I don't know, I read the blurb and I was like, sold, I gotta read it. So tell us a little bit about Carolina Built.
Well, Carolina Built is about a real life person. Her name was Josephine Napoleon Leary, and she lived in North Carolina during the 19th century, 1856 to 1923. She was born into enslavement. Emancipation happened when she was around 9 years old. She married at 17. Um, the man that she married was a barber, and she had also been trained as a barber during her younger days of enslavement. And they went on to own a barber shop in Edenton, North Carolina, that they owned jointly. But she went on to build up a real estate portfolio. She got interested in buying property. I started buying property in Edenton, and her real estate portfolio ended up being like six properties altogether: land,
Oh,
commercial buildings, and residential. And in the 2000s, it would have been valued around $10 million. And everything was owned like only solely in her name.
which
It
is
was
so
something she
rare in
did
that
that
time.
was very purposeful. Like she wanted to make sure that it was, that there was no danger of her ever losing it, in case any kind of dispute would rise with her husband or anything like that. Like she wanted to make sure it was owned by her so she could pass it down to her daughters.
Oh man, I'm so excited about that because, well, I love historical fiction too, and I love strong heroines, and the power dynamic there is amazing because what most people don't realize is women couldn't even have bank accounts
Yeah,
that time, and
like there
so
was
let
so
alone
little
own
power.
what would be 10 million in real estate today. Back then is total just amazing. So I love that. I
Yeah,
cannot wait to read the premise of that. So that's exciting. What are you currently reading right now?
I just finished Wild Rain by Beverly Jenkins probably about a week ago. Like I was super behind on my TBR because I've been doing so much writing, so much writing, and so much like writing related stuff. I had to do a lot of travel for Carolina Built, and then by the time that kind of died down, it was on to working on travel stuff for Can't Resist Her because their release was only a few months apart. Um, so I was kind of getting back into the swing of things. So that's the last thing that I read, and now I'm listening to an audiobook of Rising Strong.
Oh,
Um,
Brene Brown.
yeah, Renee Brown. Yeah, because I've been
Love
listening
her.
to the podcast. We can do hard things. I've been listening to that.
Yeah.
So I had already read Daring Greatly. So I was like, okay, that's the next one. I'm listening to that. And then everything else is like research reading that I'm doing for like upcoming projects.
Do you have any more historical books coming up?
I do have some kind of in the works. We're looking for, like, my agent and I are looking for a home for like some, we have like a Regency series. It's like Regency historical mystery. We're
Nice.
looking for placement for that. And then I have another sort of true life historical fiction that I'm working on about Dr. Polly Murray, who was from my hometown of Durham, North Carolina, and was the first black woman, black openly queer bishop in the Episcopal Church. So I'm like working on that whole. I'm still doing research, and there's a lot of like academic stuff and biographical stuff that's been written about her because she lived in the 20th century. So I'm kind of looking for my approach in how I could tell the story in a way that A hasn't been explored, and B would like give the most like honor to everything that she accomplished. Um, so I'm working on that. I'm still kind of in the research phase. And then there was another family in Edenton that was featured in Carolina Built, um, that had sort of a, not a, it was not the same kind of business. The family were like carpenters and architects. The family's name is Badham. and they built a lot of the homes that are still standing today. I think there are like 14 Batum homes still standing from the 19th century. And the craftsmanship is incredible. I got to go into one of them when I was in Edenton because one of the great great grandsons of the Badams of that time has recently moved back to Edenton to like purchase one of the houses and restore it and turn it into a historical site.
That right there sounds like a novel. You have to write that.
Yeah.
That's
So like I've
amazing.
been talking with him about like what kind of story could be told about the Badham family because there's so much of their architecture still remaining. There's a lot of information about them as well. So that's something else I also want to work on.
Oh, that I'm so excited for that. I love that you write romance and historical and you just color all outside the lines. You're like, I'm just gonna do what I
Yeah.
want. I'm just gonna have fun with this. And I love it
Don't
when
fence
authors do
me
that
in.
because it's like you never know what you're gonna get and it's always fun. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. I just kind of go wherever my interest is. I'm a history nerd first, but I feel like I have the general interest in so many different subjects. So I kind of lean into whatever I'm interested in when choosing what I'm going to write next.
I love that. What are you watching right now?
I watch a lot of like reruns of old shows. Like I'm still watching like The Golden Girls and The Nanny and Living Single. Um, but like recent stuff, I've been watching Abbott Elementary, and it's really good. It's just a good show. Like it's so wholesome, but it's still funny. Um, and it has this kind of sarcastic humor that I really just love. A great cast, and I think that's probably like my favorite show of the moment is Abbott Elementary. Like I will shout from the rooftops that everybody should be watching Abbott Elementary. I really also like Drunk History. I'm still like working my way through the episodes of Drunk History because I'm like this is like for me a fantastic idea. Like I get to learn like obscure historical facts told by a person who's like falling down drunk, which just makes it funny. And the way the show is produced where they're kind of acting out what the person is saying and they're trying to like lip sync to them, and sometimes they say nonsense and the people who are acting it out just go with it. So it's really well produced and entertaining, but you're still picking up the history. It's like
Yeah.
it's the same way I feel about reading a Beverly Jenkins book. Like you're so entertained by the romance, you don't even realize you're learning something until after the fact. So I think it's like brilliantly produced. And then the rest of the stuff I've been watching, like some true crime stuff, like investigation discovery type shows, and then like Hometown and things like that on HGTV. I try not to watch too much that's like going to stress me out. So I don't really watch
Yeah.
like news and stuff like that. It's mostly like comfort watch um, type of stuff. Something funny, something light. Outside of like your occasional documentary, I'm mostly watching things that are kind of lighthearted because I'm like, it's already, like a post capitalist hellscape out there. Like, I don't need the extra stress.
Right. I was going to say, I listened to a podcast that Brene Brown did recently, and she was talking about how she wrote Atlas of the Heart, her newest book. And she said what she does is she always puts on some kind of true crime documentary, and it's like white noise in the background. It's nothing that really, like you said, stresses her out, but it just kind of pulls her in, but not too far in, and she can think. So she'll plot out her books while she listens to that. And I thought that was really interesting because just having that white noise does give us that space to kind of, dream up our books or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I do that sometimes with like YouTube videos. I watch a lot of YouTube videos about gaming. The What Culture Gaming channel. I watch that a lot, and sometimes it's just playing in the background. Um, and I like survival horror games. Like I've played most of the Resident Evil series. Same thing with like Silent Hill. That's the kind of game I like to play. But like I'll be watching like a video of someone else playing it or someone making commentary on it. Like I know the game so well, I don't have to really pay attention. I can just kind of have it on as background noise. I'm like in every other aspect of my life, I'm like light, airy, sunshine, and joy. But when I play video games, I'm murdering hordes of zombies because I exist in multitudes.
Right. What advice would you have for an aspiring author?
I think probably my initial advice is I think when people are first starting out with writing, that they have an end goal in mind, and that's not a bad thing necessarily, but I find people kind of fixate on that, um and can kind of get distracted by like looking up like, oh, if they want to traditionally publish, where should they submit, and trying to find agents that are open for submission and manuscript format and all the little minutia. Or they're looking at self-publishing and they're looking at, oh well, how do I self-publish, and then they're trying to figure out the process and all the steps that go into that. And I think so much focus goes into the end that they're not thinking about the beginning. I think people even get just thinking hard about that before they've even written anything. So I think probably my first advice would be to focus on the actual writing, like less on the mechanics of it and all of that, more on the actual story you're trying to tell, because the story that you have is your story. Nobody else can tell it. And first drafts are supposed to be crappy. Like you have to kind of just get it out, write it down somewhere, put it in the computer, dictate it into your phone, like whatever your jam is in terms of like recording information. You have to get the story down. Once you get it written down, then you can start looking at, okay, now what do I do with it? How do I fix it up? Get it into its best possible state. And then you start working on submissions and, doing self-publishing stuff and all that. Like I think the focus has to first be on the story. It doesn't matter if it's like properly written in the King's English and all of that. Just get the story down first. And that's like your best starting point, I think.
That is amazing advice. Well, where else can we find you and support you online?
So mainly I'm on Twitter. Like I have a bunch of different social media accounts, but I don't actually enjoy being on most of them, but I'm on Twitter a lot. I like Twitter. So on Twitter, I'm Kianna Writes. And like hopefully, like the sale doesn't go through and it doesn't become weird over there, because I kind of like it. That's where all the industry stuff goes down. Like if something's happening in publishing, like you can pretty much see it in real time. When that whole
Yep.
merger thing was happening with Simon and Schuster and
Yeah.
Penguin or whoever was trying to, like, it was somebody was live tweeting it as it was happening. I'm like, it's a trial, but it's being live tweeted. So like if something's happening, you're gonna find out first on Twitter. So that's where I like to be. I have Instagram. I think I am Kianna Alexander Writes on Instagram, but I'm Kianna Writes both on Facebook and Twitter. Um, I don't do much on Facebook. I post there occasionally. I'm mainly on Facebook because I have a lot of readers who like Facebook. And if they want to ask me questions and stuff, they're more likely to inbox me on Facebook than contact me in literally any other way. I'm like, do something like a smoke signal, Morse code, something. But they love to send me Facebook messages. So I end up being on Facebook a lot of times just to answer questions and stuff, and to put up like the semi frequent post. So that's pretty much my like social media right now, is those three places where I am. And definitely Twitter the most. And then my website is authorkianaalexander.wordpress.com. Um,
Awesome.
and that's got all my links to books and all the other stuff. If you want to have a writing consultation, or you want to book me to come speak to your club or group or your class or whatever, all that stuff is on the homepage of the website. So try to
Awesome.
make it kind of easy to keep up with all that.
Well, everybody watching, be sure to follow Kianna here on Amazon as well so you don't miss out on any of her upcoming releases. It sounds like she's got some really fun things in the works, so you don't want to miss out on any of those. I know I don't want to miss out on any of my favorite authors, so if you click a hyperlink where her name is and follow her, Amazon will let you know every time she has a new book coming up. Awesome. Well, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for joining me. Everybody, grab Can't Resist Her. You can grab it on Audible. You can grab it on ebook or paperback. I love the paperback so much. Her cover is fantastic. So grab it and get started reading today. Thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, stand by one moment. Amazon, thanks so much. Be sure to hit the follow button and follow along for more author streams. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.